My husband and his first love were getting intimate in the car when they suffered carbon monoxide poisoning. As a 60-year-old socialite who knows nothing about practical matters, I could only sob hysterically while calling my son for help. Trembling with fear and vulnerability, I choked out between tears. "Brian, your father and Emma are dying from poisoning." Brian snapped impatiently before I could finish. "Mom, must you always create drama? How many times must I explain that Dad and Emma are just old friends? Lily's having heart palpitations again. I don't have time for your hysterics." The line went dead before I could respond. Tearfully clutching my pearl necklace, I stared at the two unconscious naked bodies entwined in our brand new Royce Cullinan. A melancholy sigh escaped my rose-glossed lips. "Ed, darling, if you die now, however will I manage to spend our $100 billion fortune alone?" This whole mess began when I went searching for my missing Persian cat. Spotting suspicious movement in our underground garage, I bravely approached our new luxury vehicle only to discover my supposedly prudish husband Ed locked in passionate embrace with his college sweetheart Emma. My diamond-encrusted mascara immediately started running. How cruel life could be. Born into Shanghai aristocracy, I'd never worked a day in my life. My parents sheltered me from all hardship, arranging my marriage to the dashing heir of the Johnson Group. Only after our wedding did I discover Ed's lingering attachment to his working-class first love. Though Emma had married a local farmer after accepting hush money from the Johnsons, Ed maintained annual business trips to her provincial hometown. Brian inherited both his father's stern demeanor and complete disregard for my frivolous nature. Even at 7, he'd lectured me, "Dad respects career women, not shopaholic socialites. Don't you feel useless being a kept wife?" Useless? Between managing my couture wardrobe and overseeing the library I'd endowed at Stanford, my sole professional endeavor after donating $100 million for naming rights, I found life quite fulfilling. Why manufacture struggles when born with silver spoons? The men in my life constantly criticized my wasteful habits, yet my trust fund and their handsome faces always softened my anger. Now, watching Ed's still chiseled profile against Emma's careworn features, bitter irony twisted my heart. For decades, I'd funded scholarships for underprivileged students like Lily only for those very protégés to infiltrate my family. As emergency lights finally pierced the garage darkness, I dabbed my eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Perhaps it was time this useless socialite learned to fight for what's hers. The two of them traveled around exploring scenic spots, leaving countless photos across the country. My heart shattered. Ed never once traveled with me, not even our honeymoon. Every time I begged him for a trip, he'd coldly transfer millions, the company swamped. "Take the money and go alone." I'd wipe my tears and fly solo Antarctica's penguins, Iceland's auroras, Hawaii's beaches, shopping sprees at luxury boutiques. So many handsome guys hit on me during trips, but I stayed loyal. And what did I get? Betrayal. Furious, I confronted Ed only to receive another icy transfer. "Emma and I are just friends. Buy yourself some bags." Even after shopping, I remained furious. I complained to our son Brian. That traitor defended his father. "Men having female confidants is normal. You're destroying our family. Dad introduced me to Aunt Emma when I was 8. She's kind and would never break up our home." My world collapsed. Brian had known about Emma for years. Through tears I cried, "Haven't I been a good mother? I gave you my kidney when yours failed." He snapped, "Using that against me? Want me to carve it out and die? Would that satisfy you?" After that fight, Brian grew cold. Heartbroken, I blocked him. Remembering this, I sobbed uncontrollably for 30 minutes before noticing something odd. Why were Ed and Emma completely motionless? Peering through the car window, I saw their cherry red skin, classic carbon monoxide poisoning. Frantic, I unblocked Brian's number. 20 unanswered calls later, he finally picked up during a meeting. "Stop your drama. I'm busy." Choking back tears, "Brian, your dad and Emma are dying," he exploded. "Enough lies. You're poisoning our family with these rumors. Call 120 if it's real. Wailing. I confessed, they're completely naked. How can I call paramedics? They're over 100 combined. The scandal. He roared, stop spreading smut. The betrayal cut deep. How could my own son distrust me like this? Is this the collapse of morality or the distortion of humanity? Just as I wallowed in sadness, Lily's voice came through the phone. Brian. Is your stepmom bothering you again? How can she be so inconsiderate? I gritted my teeth. That homewrecker Lily was stirring the pot again. The main reason Brian protected Emma was their childhood sweetheart relationship. 8-year-old Brian had been smitten with Lily since meeting her mother. Like father like son, Ed lusted after the mother while his son chased the daughter. I couldn't help asking, Brian, weren't you in a meeting? Why is Lily there? Before he could answer, Lily's frail voice whimpered. Brian, my chest hurts. Lily! Brian shouted anxiously before the line went dead. Redialing repeatedly got no response. Staring at two naked bodies in the car, I screamed at the sky in despair. What should I do? With all staff attending the housekeeper's son's wedding, I stood alone in our mansion, a pampered socialite expected to perform rescue missions. Desperate, I knocked on neighbor Helen's door. As fellow upper-class residents, she'd preserve our dignity rather than spread gossip about Ed's scandal. Helen, my millennial influencer friend, eagerly helped until she saw the car's occupants. Holy shit. June. She cackled. Why save them? Let the bastards die. Tears streamed down my face. Ed's still my husband. Our son won't believe me. I don't know what to do. Helen snapped multiple compromising photos of Ed and Emma's glowing skin. Occupational hazard. She grinned sheepishly at my stare. Don't worry. I won't post these. We must rush them to the hospital, I urged. Carbon monoxide poisoning has a 4 to 6 hour golden window. Helen floored it to Johnson Group Hospital. As medics prepared stretchers, I realized we'd forgotten to clothe them. Grabbing discarded garments, I draped Emma's panties over Ed's face and his briefs over hers, perfect anonymity preservation. Ed valued dignity above all. Now both his reputation and his precious first loves were safe. I'd done my due diligence. The pair entered ER with maximum paparazzi-worthy flair as Helen laughed like a hyena. She swallowed her amusement when I glared. Sorry, June. Nervous giggles. When doctors urgently requested family, I begged, are they dead? Critical condition from delayed treatment, multiple cardiac arrests and cerebral herniation requiring immediate craniotomies. My world collapsed again. Typical melodramatic socialite reaction. Sobbing uncontrollably, I clutched the surgeon's arm. Save them! Swallowing pride, I revealed Ed's identity as Johnson Group's CEO. The person lying there is Ed Johnson, chairman of the Johnson Group's hospital board. Get me your best neurosurgeon immediately. There'll be generous compensation if you save him. The doctor hesitated. All our top specialists were summoned by Brian for an emergency consultation. We can't perform neurosurgery today. My head spun. What? Brian's fiancée had cardiac arrest. He's in hysterics. Cleared out the entire medical staff. Fumbling with my phone, I tried calling Brian. No answer. Again. Where's this consultation? I demanded. Vision blurring. VIP suite on the penthouse floor. The doctor eyed me pityingly. It's locked down tighter than Fort Knox. Security detail everywhere. I bolted for the elevators. Helen hot on my heels. True enough. Black-suited guards swarmed the penthouse lobby. Clear out. Restricted area. A stone-faced guard barked. I'm Ed Johnson's wife. Brian's biological mother. The guards exchanged smirks. Sure, lady. Last week we had 3 misses. Johnsons. You're the first, mommy dearest. Helen nudged me. Show them photos. My stomach dropped. Scrolling through my new phone yielded nothing. Brian had always dodged our pictures. Hate this vain photoshoot crap. He'd sneered during his MIT days. Don't you have real work? Yet Ed's office displayed countless father-son portraits, with Emma in half of them. The lead guard snorted. No photos? Even the gold diggers come better prepared. Beat it. Cougar. Panic surged. Ed's life hung in the balance. I shoved past a female guard, only to get rugby tackled. Fucking psycho. The guard snarled. You cost us our jobs? Helen brandished her phone like a weapon. Back off. I'm live streaming to 1.2 million followers. The hesitation gave us our opening. We sprinted past stunned guards, dress shoes slapping marble until we burst into the consultation room. There sat Brian in his Brioni suit, holding court over 24 specialists. The dam broke, 12 hours of terror flooding out in heaving sobs. I lunged at Brian, gripping his hand desperately. Brian. Hurry! Come with me right now. Brian instinctively frowned upon seeing me. What the hell are all these bodyguards at the door doing? Useless. The bodyguards broke into cold sweats, bowing in unison. Apologies. Mr. Johnson. We failed our duty. This lunatic claimed to be your biological mother and forced her way in. We'll remove her immediately. We suspect she's mentally unstable, possibly escaped from the psychiatric ward. Brian's brows furrowed deeper, his voice turning dangerous. What did you just say? Trembling bodyguards rushed to drag me away. We'll handle this. Enraged, I shook them off and kicked Brian's shin. You ungrateful brat. Kneel this instant. I rarely lost my temper. When I did, Ed would placate me with money transfers, while Brian had his own penitent ritual, kneeling. Brian's jaw clenched, emotions warring across his face. Finally, he sank to his knees. Mother, please calm down. The bodyguards gaped, knees wobbling violently. Wait, she's actually Mrs. Johnson? The CEO's wife? Oh God, we're finished. Career over. Brian snarled at them. Get out! We'll settle this later. Ignoring the commotion, I urgently grabbed his arm. Send doctors to save your father. He's dying. Enough. Brian pinched his temples exhaustedly. Lily's having a cardiac crisis. For once. Can't you stop causing trouble? I know you dislike her, but this is life or death. I won't tolerate your antics now. I blinked through fresh tears. Is Lily's life more precious than your father's? Do cardiac patients need every specialist? Can't you spare a few? Our argument halted as Lily materialized in hospital gown, her pallor and trembling lips radiating fragile beauty. Brian's eyes softened instantly as he rushed to support her. You should be resting. The surgery's soon. Lily smiled weakly. A pure gardenia blossom. I heard noise, worried something happened. Her gaze met mine, tears suddenly spilling like pearls. Mrs. Johnson, please don't blame Brian. My weak constitution caused this trouble. I stared, dumbfounded. This girl could cry on command better than me? Brian cradled her protectively. Don't upset yourself, darling. Your heart. Seizing my chance, I grasped Lily's hand solemnly. Your mother's dying too. Lily's tears became a torrent. She clutched her chest dramatically. Why hate us so? Mom and Mr. Johnson are just friends. Collapsing against Brian, she wept convulsively as he glared daggers at me. Happy now? I've always wished Emma was my mother. She made paper planes, cooked dumplings. What did you ever do? The words gutted me. As a picky child, I'd hired dozens of chefs, personally taste testing every dish to protect Brian's delicate stomach, sacrificing my own health until I developed chronic gastritis. All that meant less to him than Emma's damn dumplings. Tears blurred my vision as I laughed bitterly. Want Emma as your mother? Then you and Lily would be siblings. Into incest now? Brian's face darkened thunderously. You're deranged. A doctor couldn't stand it anymore and cautiously suggested. Mr. Brian, maybe I should go check downstairs? Other physicians chimed in. Exactly. We'll know the truth once we see for ourselves. If Mrs. Johnson is lying, we can return quickly. Brian exuded intimidating authority. Commanding. Nobody moves. Everyone stays here for the meeting. Anyone who disobeys gets fired immediately and blacklisted from every hospital in New York City. The room fell silent under his threat. When the suffocating tension peaked in the conference room, my phone rang. I answered mechanically like a zombie. Helen's despondent voice came through. Mrs. Johnson. Ed and his mistress, they're gone. You don't need doctors anymore. My phone clattered to the floor, shattering. I stared desperately at Brian, screaming hysterically. Your father's dead because of you. Happy now? How could I birth such a heartless monster? I disown you. Brian! From this moment, you're no longer my son. Brian flinched at my shattered expression, hesitation flashing in his eyes as he moved to steady me. Lily chose that moment to swoon dramatically, returning to the hospital room downstairs. Helen embraced me. Mrs. Johnson, please don't overexert yourself. Let me handle the funeral arrangements. I forced a smile. I'm managing. Ed's affairs need my attention. She glared at my empty doorway, fuming. How can your own son still doubt you during this tragedy? Unforgivable. I remained silent, my disappointment in Brian crystallizing into resolve. Having a son proved more worthless than raising swine. I'd rather reclaim my donated kidney. Summoning professionalism, I contacted the Johnson Group's secretary. He prevaricated. Madam, we're aware of your quarrel with Mr. Brian today. Please don't involve us in family disputes. Calmly I countered. So you also think Ed's alive? Why not call him? He sighed. Truthfully, I booked Ed and Emma's flight to the Rockies. They'd have arrived yesterday. Spotty signals explain the unanswered calls. Does Brian know? Mr. Brian approved the itinerary. Perfect. The entire world knew about Ed and Emma's romantic getaway except me. Turning to Helen, I instructed. Leak the scandal to every media outlet. Tank the Johnson Group stock. I'll fund your startup project. Helen's eyes sparkled with ambition. Consider it done, Mrs. Johnson. This exclusive will trend worldwide. She began rapid-firing calls to her media empire. Approaching Ed's corpse, I drew back the shroud. Tears welled as I whispered to his ashen face. You always valued appearances. Darling, forgive my methods. Our son killed you and your precious Emma. Since you can't avenge your true love, I'll make Brian and Lily pay. Rest well with your mistress. Sobs racked me anew. Oh, Ed. What a wretched end. The Johnson family butler organized an extravagant funeral befitting corporate royalty. Yet all earthly grandeur ultimately becomes ashes. Meanwhile, trending across social media, hashtag Johnson Grouper covers up patricide, hashtag Mistress Lily homewrecker, hashtag corporate cover-up Rocky's romance. Wall Street analysts predicted the Johnson Group stock would plummet 40% by week's end. Johnson Group CEO Ed found unconscious in car. Brian kills his own father. What a filial son! From beginning to end, Brian didn't attend his father's funeral or show up at the company. When rumors spread that Lily was afraid of anesthesia during surgery, Brian decided to show solidarity by injecting himself with 2 doses of anesthesia daily, sleeping through the entire week. The internet roasted this crazy couple mercilessly. Amidst the chaos, I stepped up to stabilize the Johnson Group. What Ed and Brian never knew was that my frequent international trips weren't vacations. I'd been building my own tech empire overseas. My father had encouraged me years ago, sweetheart. while the Johnson family was meant to be your safe harbor. True security comes from within. Mountains crumble and people disappoint. But your own capabilities endure. Build your legacy while we're still here to support you. My startup grew exponentially, honing my strategic skills far beyond what the Johnsons could imagine. These silver spoon executives never realized the quiet librarian donating to universities and mentoring underprivileged students was methodically building influence. Half our board members were my father's old allies, while our brightest talents were scholars I'd sponsored through college. Public sentiment shifted dramatically under Helen's masterful PR guidance. My narrative transformed from corporate scandal survivor to self-made icon, a 60-year-old woman betrayed by her husband, undermined by her son, yet rising through sheer grit. Viral hashtags exploded, the ultimate alpha female. This is what real power looks like. MS. Cold outshines those Nepo babies with actual class and substance. She's been helping families for decades, no one can touch her legacy. As Johnson Group's stock prices rebounded under my leadership, Brian finally crawled out of his drug-induced haze. He burst into a board meeting looking like a homeless person, screaming, "Mom, this is all fake, right? Dad's alive, right?" My secretary efficiently projected damning footage, me begging Brian to save his father versus his cold-fire anyone who intervenes declaration. The board erupted, "Have you lost your mind? Your mother pleaded with you. Like father, like son, both idiots led around by their dicks. Where were you when we needed leadership? Now you play grieving son?" As Brian collapsed muttering denials, I handed him termination papers. The once tearful society wife they'd underestimated now controlled the empire. Some legacy. Ed. The evidence above proves that Lily faked a heart condition and bribed doctors. While Lily did have a minor cardiac issue far from life-threatening, Brian doted on her excessively because of it. Emboldened by this advantage, Lily solidified her frail beauty persona by bribing all physicians at the Johnson Group's affiliated hospital. The entire medical team colluded in her charade, fooling Brian completely. This time, Lily never underwent any heart surgery. She monopolized medical resources purely to undermine me while pretending to be terminally ill. Edward and Emma met their ends because of their own devoted children. This ironclad evidence dealt Brian a crushing blow. He collapsed, ghostly pale as if drained of his soul. Looking down at him, I delivered the final blow. Your father wasn't meant to die. You handed him the death sentence yourself. Brian suddenly roared and charged out like a madman. That evening during dinner with Helen, she gasped at her phone before showing me the news. Brian had trended again. The viral video showed Lily butchered with dozens of stab wounds, kneeling shirtless with bound hands before Ed's tombstone in penitence, surrounded by police cars. Blood-drenched Brian was handcuffed while reporters shouted questions. Facing cameras, he solemnly declared, "Tell ma I ain't no coward." Hashtag not a coward and hashtag psychoair trended explosively as netizens reacted frowny face holy guac. Is Brian trolling? OMG, he's completely unhinged lol. Homewrecker's daughter got what she deserved. Perfect. With these losers gone, our Ice Queen CEO can conquer. I sighed. With the family dead or imprisoned, this socialite inherited billions alone. How lonely life gets. Brian received life imprisonment without parole. I never visited, too busy conquering the business world at 60. Renaming the Johnson Group to Lone Corporation. I worked tirelessly, skyrocketing profits and silencing doubters. Between mergers, I dated enthusiastically golden retrievers and Rottweiler types alike. I'd light incense for Ed and chat, darling. This pup actually gives emotional support. Unlike your sharp tongue, sweetheart. This one's stamina puts your weak performance to shame. Dearest, I avoid anyone resembling you to prevent nightmares. Then nightmares came. Ed appeared livid in my dreams, demanding I stop. He vowed to wait at the river Styx for our next life together. Terrified, I immediately hired a Taoist priest to exorcise him. The Taoist priest said I'd committed too many sins and would be reincarnated in the animal realm. I let out a sigh of relief. The animal realm sounded perfect, carefree. Without any of the endless worries that come with being human. Take my biggest problem, I'm sitting on $100 billion fortune all by myself. How could anyone possibly spend that much money?